What's good, YouTube? Today in this video, I'm going to be going over something very important that just came out recently. And this is something that I don't really see that many people talking about as of right now. Like, I came across a few videos on YouTube about it, and I came across an article about the subject on the mostimportantnews.com, which is a source that I highly recommend in terms of like staying updated with what's going on in the world and whatnot. I came across that article first before I came across the videos, and I thought to myself, it would be a good idea for me to make a video about it. So here I am making a video about it now. And I thought that I would play the video first for you guys to pretty much so that you guys can get an idea of what's happening with this new law that was implemented. It's called the Digital Services Act, and it was implemented in the European Union. So yeah, I'm going to get into the video right now. And later on in the video, I'm going to go over the article. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get it started now.
The world's largest digital companies have nowhere to hide, as sweeping new rules cracking down on tech giants come into play. The EU's Digital Service Act is taking the internet by storm, marking the toughest regulation since social media burst onto screens.
The DSR is here to protect free speech against arbitrary decisions, and at the same time, to protect our citizens and democracies against illegal content.
And you guys know what they're talking about when they say things like illegal content and misinformation, right? Over the past few years, especially ever since what happened in 2020, they've been cracking down big time on the type of information that they deem as misinfo, right? And we all know the truth about all of that, right? We know what's the real misinformation. We know what the truth is, right? And you guys know what the bigger picture is behind all of these things that they're implementing and all these different things that they're doing. And they're going to keep hiding behind the guise of and the narrative of fighting misinformation and disinformation and fighting, what they call conspiracy theories, right? But we know the truth about all of that, right? And we know where that term was coined from as well. It's all about silencing people who speak the truth. It's all about getting rid of the people who go against their narratives, right? But we already know this.
If you're watching in Europe and own a smartphone.
And also, before I continue the video, keep in mind that whenever the next big event happens, like what we saw in 2020, because that next one's going to make 2020 look like nothing. But whenever that event takes place, you can also expect that the crackdown's going to be a lot bigger than what we've already seen. So yeah, prepare yourselves for what's to come as much as you can. And just keep those things in mind, because as we get closer and closer to things like that happening, despite us not knowing the exact time it's going to happen, as we get closer to those events happening, you can expect those crackdowns to get much more intense and a lot more frequent, right?
Phone, which probably applies to everyone, then you're going to start noticing changes over the next few months with new safety, verification, and consent features.
And also, even though this is only happening in the EU as of right now, you can expect it to be worldwide, because that's what always happens, right? Just like the 2020 thing, right? It's always this, it's the same thing every time. They implement these things in certain areas and then it becomes worldwide as time goes on. So yeah, just keep that in mind and don't forget that, right?
The DSA will force companies with over 45 million monthly users like Google, YouTube, and Instagram to clean up its act in terms of its content moderation, user privacy, and transparency.
AKA more censorship.
But this laundry list is still unclear over free speech. Most large platforms already remove lawful but awful content, but the lines are blurry for keyboard warriors on X, for instance. But even billionaire Elon Musk, who took over the Twitter platform last year and immediately butted heads with the EU over content, is agreeing to comply. While there's nothing new about...
Of course Elon Musk would agree to comply. He's literally one of them. He's controlled opposition. And it amazes me the amount of people that act like Elon Musk is on our side, but he's literally just a puppet on strings. The whole thing that happened with Elon Musk taking over Twitter, that was a part of the script too. He's just playing his role. But yeah, it's really embarrassing the amount of people that lack the discernment to see through people like him.
Sifting out fake news and tackling hate speech, hefty fines and punishments may help. Any firm found in breach could face a fine worth up to 6% of its global turnover and could be banned altogether. All eyes will now be on how platforms stick to the rules, with experts predicting the DSA could spark change beyond the bloc.
I personally consider the Digital Service Act to be an overdue step, and it is to be welcomed that the European Union has succeeded in reaching a workable agreement on this really highly controversial, discussed political issue and implementing it in a timely manner. And the DSA will certainly not be the last digital regulation of its kind, and will also have a spillover effect on many other countries around the world.
The EU is yet again...
Yeah, that's like kind of what I said earlier about how it's going to become worldwide, right? Like it's happening in the European Union right now. And it's not here just yet, but we all know deep down that it's going to be a worldwide thing eventually, right? So, yeah.
A magnifying glass over the World Wide Web. But with its rate of expansion spiraling out of control, the DSA isn't the first and won't be the last we hear of online safety.
Online safety. What a joke.
Shadi Edwards-Dashty, TRT World.
So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Like I said earlier when I started my video, not many people are talking about this as of right now. And I figured I'd make a video on it to let you guys know that this is happening and to expect that in the future, in the near future, that, you know, you're going to start seeing a much bigger crackdown on pretty much people who are speaking the truth, right? Because that's literally what it is. You're going to start seeing more crackdowns on that. And it was already bad enough in 2020 with what they were doing. But what's coming is going to be much worse, and it's going to become more and more important for you to be ready for what's to come. It's not only things like this, but they have a lot more planned up their sleeves, right? This is just one of several of their agendas that they have in play. So, yeah, without further ado, I'm going to get into the next thing that I wanted to share with you guys, which was the article that pretty much goes over the story. And it says a draconian new law went into effect on August 25th that institutes extreme censorship of the internet on a global basis. And then it goes on to say the internet just changed forever, but most people living in the United States don't even realize what just happened. A draconian new law known as the Digital Services Act went into effect in the European Union on Friday, and it establishes an extremely strict regime of internet censorship that is far more authoritarian than anything we have ever seen before. From this point forward, hordes of European bureaucrats will be the arbiters of what is acceptable to say on the internet. If they discover something that you have said on a large online platform that they do not like, aka a lot of the truth that they've censored over the past few years, things like that, they can force that platform to take it down because someone in Europe might see it. So even though this is a European law, the truth is that it is going to have a tremendous impact on all of us. From this point forward, nothing will be the same. It is being reported that the DSA literally makes large tech companies, quote unquote, legally accountable for the content posted to them. The European Union's Digital Services Act, DSA, has officially gone into effect starting on August 25th, 2023, which was several days ago. Tech giants like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and more must comply with sweeping legislation that holds online platforms legally accountable for the content posted to them. And then it goes on to say, and of course they're going to comply with it, obviously. They're literally owned and controlled by the same people who are behind these things. Even though this new law was passed in the EU, will likely see far-reaching global effects as companies adjust their policies to comply. Exactly. Initially, there will be 19 giant online platforms that will be forced to comply with this new law, ranging from social media platforms to online marketplaces and search engines. The list so far includes Facebook, TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snapchat, Amazon, Booking, AliExpress, Zalando, Google Shopping, Wikipedia, Google Maps, Google and Apple's mobile app stores, Google Search, and Microsoft's Bing. That was a mouthful right there. But yeah, pretty much all of these major social media platforms are going to be under this entire thing and going along with it. It goes on to say, but starting on February 24th, 2024, the Digital Services Act will start applying to a much broader spectrum of online platforms that have fewer than 45 million monthly users. We are being told that this new law will establish clear rules that online platforms must follow. That will include censoring anything that is deemed false or misleading under the strengthened code of practice on disinformation. So what kind of speech is the DSA expected to police? Last year's strengthened code of practice on disinformation defines disinformation as false or misleading content that is spread with an intention to deceive or secure economic or political gain, and which may cause public harm. Ironically, that's what they've been doing over the past few years with all of their lies that they've been deliberately misleading people with. It goes on to say the code has already been put to work during elections and to respond to crises such as you know what and the war in Ukraine. It goes on to say, and it really doesn't matter if material that European bureaucrats consider to be false or misleading is actually false or misleading at all. What matters is that if online platforms do not comply with what they're being told to do, they will pay dearly for it. Online platforms that don't comply with the DSA's rules, we all know they're going to. Of course, they're going to, so they don't really have to worry about that. Could see fines of up to 6% of their global turnover. According to the EU Commission, the Digital Services Coordinator and the Commission will have the power to require immediate action where necessary to address very serious harms. A platform continually refusing to comply could result in a temporary suspension in the EU. So you guys might be thinking like, oh, like what am I going to do if, you know, like say for instance, my YouTube channel is taken down. God forbid something like that happens. Hopefully it never happens. That's why I'm trying my best to continue speaking in code. But as you guys know, their AI is getting more advanced and whatnot. So yeah, you might be thinking like, oh, what am I going to do if my channel gets taken down? I'm going to put a link to a Telegram in my description down below. I have a Telegram channel that I've had for like about a year now or something like that. I've had it since like last year, I think. So yeah, I'm going to put a link to that in my description and you guys can join it if you want to. Most of the people in there have been kind of inactive, even including myself, because I haven't really been using it that much recently, to be honest. But Telegram for me, it's like more of a thing that I use if it's like I'm getting censored hardcore on social media, or if I lose a social media page or something, it's like more of a thing that I'll use for like one of those types of situations, right? So yeah, it's like just like my backup plan type of thing. It's like a backup platform that I use, right? Just in case like I lose my social media pages. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So I'm not active on there as much as I am on all these other social media platforms because there's a lot more things going on over there, of course. But join that Telegram channel if you're interested and if you want to, because if I lose my social media pages, that's where I'm going to be at. That's where I'm going to be sharing this type of information at, just in case that happens to me. Hopefully it doesn't, right? Hopefully I can continue to get by, but these rules are going to get a lot more stricter. They're going to implement these things on a wider scale, and the crackdown is going to get more and more intense as time goes on. So Yeah, make sure to join that Telegram channel if you're interested. I'm going to put the link in the description down below. It goes on to say big tech companies will be desperate to avoid such penalties, and so they will obey. And so that means that hundreds of unelected EU bureaucrats will be in control of speech in the internet now. Under this Orwellian regime, a team of hundreds of unelected EU bureaucrats will decide what constitutes disinformation and instruct big tech firms to censor it. The firms themselves, faced with a reputational risk and financial penalties, will have little choice other than to comply. It's really important that you guys get this message out and this video out to as many people as possible, because like I said earlier, not many people are talking about this, and more people need to be aware of what's taking place, because people think that things are going back to normal and everything's going to be okay. But they fail to realize that things like this are being implemented, and a lot more is to come as well as we get closer and closer to the time of which when they pull off the next big event, which we don't know when it's going to happen, but as days go on, we know that we're getting closer and closer to that. It goes on to say this can be done in all manner of ways, simply by human moderators, removing content, by shadow banning problematic creators to reduce their reach. That's what happened to me in late 2020 when around the time the selection was happening, right? It was like in October of 2020. My Instagram account got shadow banned so hard for like about 2 to 3 months, and then it was lifted. And I wasn't able, like, I was reaching hundreds of, even maybe thousands of people with the stuff that I was posting on Instagram, and they shadow banned me. And then all of a sudden I noticed that I was reaching less than 50 people with each post. So yeah, like I said, these things are going to get more and more intense as time goes on. They're going to start cracking down on these things more and more and more. And honestly, on Instagram, I don't even post the type of stuff that I post on YouTube anymore on Instagram, because it's gotten so ridiculous. I mean, I still do, actually. I have a separate page for it, but I don't really post on there as much as I do on YouTube. So yeah, but it goes on to say, and though legally speaking, the DSA only applies. Actually, I skipped a whole line. It says by demonetizing certain content. That's happening a lot too. And by tweaking algorithms to favor or disfavor certain topics. They've been doing that for a while too. And though legally speaking, the DSA only applies in the EU, once installed inside big tech firms, this vast content regulation apparatus will surely affect users in the rest of the world too. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it off there. You guys pretty much get the idea of what we're talking about here. The most important news.com. You can simply, if you ever want to come across this website, and if you guys want to check out what's on this website, you could simply just type in on Google search the most important news, and then it'll pop up immediately. So yeah, I think I said everything I needed to say in this video. Please share the video far and wide. I thank you guys for watching this video. If you watched it this far, let me know what you guys think. Comment your thoughts down below. And make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'm out now.